friends, I'm Samantha, and today I'm going to show you a nice and easy Bowspring routine that will be great for beginners, and the only thing we need is a block. So we're going to start out in a standing position, and actually we're going to start out like this. I'm going to put the block between my knees, just like so, and then I'm going to try to push my feet together, and I'm going to check that they're parallel. You'll have to check this because a lot of times people think they're parallel, but actually the balls of the feet are wider than the heels. So you want it to line up so that the second toe is in line with the middle of the back of the heel. So let's see here. Good, yeah. And I'm also gonna try to make my feet a little bit more narrow than you think. You know, I teach this to a lot of people, they try to do it like this, not quite. So try to get it narrow. There you go. And now I can feel a little tone on the inner legs, and that's good. That's what I'm looking for here. This is gonna help me get into that bowspring squatty position and feel what it feels like. It's kind of like a training wheel for that. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna come to the side so you can see me from the side. So I'm squeezing the block. My weight is more in the front part of my foot, so I'm not gonna put the weight in my heel. You see the difference? So this is in the front part of the foot. This is in the heel. All right, so we want the front part of the foot. I'm gonna bend the knees and hollow behind the knees, and I'm gonna take my hands to domes on the tops of the thighs. Now this takes a lot of energy already. Let your belly go. Breathe. And then you can take a little pulse to check that you are in the bowspring, you're in a springy position. All right, from here, I'm gonna take ecstasy arms. So I'll take the sides of my hands to the side of my head, just like so, keeping the elbows narrow. And I'm gonna sit down and open my belly up. Good. All right, and now I'm going to show you from the front how to crescent. So already, I get it, this takes a lot of energy, so take breaks if you need to, and simplify or take breaks. All right, so I'm squeezing the block, heels are light, feet parallel, take my hands into ecstasy once more, elbows narrow, and I'm going to sit down. Keep your tail lifted so you can sit down with your tail tucked. But that's not what we're looking for. We want to sit down, tail lifted. Your groin creases are deep when you do that. Breathe big. And then I'm going to arc to one side. Notice I'm keeping my neck long. I'm not going to turn my head, my face towards the ceiling. And we'll just take that. A lot of times people's hips try to push to the opposite side that they're arcing. Resist that. The block's going to help you resist that too. Inhale, come on back up. I'm going to check my spring with a little bounce again. And then I'm going to crescent to the other side. I can even hover my heels and bounce up and down a couple times, and this will just remind me to keep light in my heels. Well, I heard some belly movements going on, so that's a good thing. You want your belly to be relaxed enough that things can move around in there. So we're not sucking our belly in and we're not tucking our tailbone. Inhale, come up. Take the arms down. That's pretty hard. All right, the next move, I'm gonna use my block. I'm gonna put it on the floor and I'm gonna do a forward fold. Now this one's pretty hard too, but you can do it. Give it a try. If hamstrings are super tight, I recommend using a chair or a windowsill instead of a block, okay? So you gotta be pretty open to use the block, but you get the idea. So you know where you are. I'm gonna get my hair out of the way. I'm gonna step wide, so I'm wider than my mat, and I'm gonna deepen my groins, but keep my tail lifted. Again, the tail's not gonna tuck, the tail's gonna be lifted, the groins go deep, and they get real, real deep. I'm gonna put my block on the floor, like so, okay? And notice I'm not dropping my ribs. I could if I wanted to, but that's not bowspring. Sometimes we do this just as a palate cleanser. But if I really want to get strong glutes and really open my pelvic floor in a way that it can be functional, I'm going to lift my ribs. So look how high my ribs are. I can lift my ribs higher than my booty, and I'm using my feet to lift my butt cheeks and separate them. And you notice I have an inward curve of the low back here. I'm going to use the block to help me pull my belly long. So I tell a lot of my students this, put the block further away than you want it to be. So most people try to put their block here. I'm going to challenge you, put your block further away, especially if your hamstrings are tight. Then with your block further away, pull your shoulders towards your block. Bend your knees if you have to. Bend your knees a little bit more, and you'll feel that nice stretch. This is hard. My heart rate is thumping. So in the old school yoga, we used to do a wide-legged forward fold like this, and it was the easiest thing in the world for me. Didn't take any energy at all. So this is totally not the same pose. It's a totally different pose. This is a strengthening exercise as well as a stretch. So you're getting the benefit of both. All right, I'm going to come down now. Thank goodness. I'm going to step back 1 foot at a time. And this is what we call crouching cat. I'm not going to stay here long because this is a beginner video. I'm going to lower one knee down and then the other. And now we're in all fours pose. So notice my hands are a little bit forward of my shoulders. My elbows are pointing outward and they're not locked. My booty is still lifted and I still have that inward curve of the low back. So this is not cow pose. In cow pose, the ribs are towards the floor. It's not cat pose because in cat pose, the tail is tucked. And it's not a tabletop pose because tabletop pose is basically flat like a tabletop. So I kind of got cow going on my butt and I've got cat going on in my ribs. There we go. So to start with, I'm going to just do humble cat on both sides. So I'm going to open up the left and tuck the left toes under. And I can slide the right foot out to the right a little bit. We call that a kickstand for a little bit more surface area. And I'm just going to pulse. Now, the tendency here would be to tuck the tailbone to do that. But I want you to watch that. So practice in the mirror. See if you can keep the tailbone liberated. And keep your hands strong so you can pull your ribs forward. Let's try that on the other side. Humble cat, right. And if you want to learn more about humble cat, I have a video just about humble cat. So I've got a bunch of Bowspring pose breakdowns, or you can just watch me here. So again, I'm not tucking the tailbone. I'm not dumping the ribs down. I've got lifted ribs and a happy tailbone. I'm going to use my feet to help me lift my tail and use my hands to pull my ribs forward. And I can even take a little pulse here. Wonderful. So now I'm going to come down to my knees. And I'm just going to move my knees to one side of the mat, and then I'm going to put my booty down on the other. And I'm gonna come all the way down now. I'm kind of tired. So I just slid down really nice to the floor, and I'm gonna roll onto my back. Okay. Like I said, this was just a really simple video, so I'm gonna show you just a few moves. This next one we're gonna use our block for again. So I'm gonna take the block, I'm gonna put it under my booty. And here I'm going to take my hands and untuck my buttocks flesh. Okay, I already feel a stretch on the lower belly. That's good. I want to open that up. So we're opening sensitive areas of the body, pelvic floor, the belly, and the throat. Okay, and you might need to widen your feet to get that to open a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to take my hand to a chin-up bar position. You can put your knuckles on the floor, and this is pretty opening in itself. Again, I'm not tucking the tailbone under. I'm trying to tilt the pubic bone forward just by opening the belly. And I'll breathe in. I'll let the belly expand here. Breathe out. Release that expansion. So this is a Bowspring bridge pose. I'm going to remove the block. So remove the block out of the way and see if I can touch down the very bottom of my tailbone on the floor. Okay, so there it goes. I've still got a empty space between the low back and the floor, but I've got a lot of empty space behind my ribs, and I want to have full ribs to be in the Bowspring, so I'm going to try to keep this empty space between the low back, and I'm going to try to bring the ribs closer to the floor at the same time. So it's going to help me to have my arms up and maybe walk the feet. So you can see there's less of a gap between my ribs and the floor, but I still have that inward curve of the low back. It takes some energy to do this. Doesn't look like we're doing much, but if you're doing it right, you can feel it. You can totally feel it. All right, and I'm just gonna do one leg at a time because this is a beginning one. I'm gonna act like I'm pushing my heel on an exercise ball, like one of those big balls. And now I'm gonna act like I'm pulling a sticky bicycle pedal. Also, you notice my foot, I'm scooping the bottom of my foot, and that helps me create tone in the whole leg, which transfers everywhere. So I'm using tone everywhere in the body to help tone the core. Otherwise, if I didn't tone my leg and my foot while I was doing this, I would probably bring all the work of the exercise to one spot, which a lot of times people will dump all the weight of an exercise into their low back or their pelvic floor, and they start getting issues. Makes sense? So we're gonna redistribute the load to everywhere at the same time. So I'm gonna tone my arms. I'm gonna tilt the ears back, and then I'm gonna try this leg. So I'm toning the back of the leg as I bicycle pedal. Good. All right. And now I'm just gonna windshield wiper. We gotta have a little fun here. Let's windshield wiper. Notice when I windshield wiper, I'm not gonna just dump forward and push my groins forward. I'm gonna try to keep the groins deep. So see the difference? So this is dumped forward. This is keeping them deep. So as a result, my sits bones stay wide, and my glutes are still toning in the upward manner. I'm using my feet a lot to do this, so I'm not going limp in the feet either. Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna roll on over to my side and slide and glide up. So that was just a couple simple moves that you can try. Simple and yet complicated at the same time. It doesn't look like we did a lot, but you can feel that we did a lot. And it is good for you. It is so good for you, I promise. Let me know what you think in the comments and come back for more Bowspring videos. Thanks. Bye-bye.